Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live for RRF1 as they take on one of the great historical tracks in motor racing. It's here for Imola, the famous race circuit, and of course, every time anyone comes here, they pay their respects to the late great legend of Ayrton Senna and of course Roland Ratzenberg, who both lost their lives the same weekend back in 1994. One of my favourite tracks to race at on the game. Absolutely love racing around here. And I really enjoy this in real life as well. A quick look at the standings then as we head. Voice is low, is it? 1 second. Let me have a look. It says F122 at the bottom, huh? Awkward. I'll fiddle around with that for the next stream. Right. Okay, hopefully that is better. I've just upped the microphone by 1, so hopefully that sounds a little bit clearer. Yeah, we shall see. Let me know if it doesn't. Standing wise, as you can see, Baker Soda leads the championship, but had a DNF last time out in the infamous Monte Carlo. Dartmark there gaining. Cheers, Mark. Dartmark gaining points on Baker Soda at the top. 46 points though. The gap between the McLaren driver and the Alpine driver, with Sergeant Kamarov, who again. Him and Master Spread, who I believe are no longer part of the division, but they're still showing the standings. Kamarov still showing there in 3rd, with TSD Apex in 4th. Master Spread still managed to cling on to a top 5 spot. In the constructor standings, it is still a huge battle. That's really where the fun is, as you can see. McLaren at the moment just 11 points clear of Red Bull. Tonight we've got one McLaren in Baking Soda. But we have no Red Bulls. So Red Bull will not score any points here tonight. Alpine just a further 27 points back from Red Bull. They have the Dartmark racing for Alpine. And then, of course, you've got the Massey a further 24 points back from them. So 62 points separate the top 4 teams. Haas, of course, tonight have 2 cars in Atkins and Cameron. So maybe more of a chance for them to score some solid points. But, of course, everyone has to stop the super fast Mr. Bacon Soda. A few cars coming out of the garage now. Let's get the old menus up. Been a couple of weeks since I've last commentated on an RF1 stream after I've been away sunning myself in the UAE, courtesy of Netflights. Get that little plug in there. Let's have a look, see who is the furthest round at the moment. So we have a Haas car is the furthest round. So is that going to be... It is Mr. Atkins. So, and Agatha Wispy has got a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with A72, and that is on the opening lap. So where is... So A72 is round. Agatha Wispy... Any damage on the Alfa Romeo? Can't quite tell from there. Maybe we'll get a good view as they come round the penultimate corner. Can't see any damage. Has A72 got damage? Mr. Platypus, how are you doing? Welcome back, sir. Good luck tonight in the mighty Alpha Tauri. Anyway, we've got some cars actually on some flying laps, so let's go on board with Mr. Atkins. Into the tricky hairpin, where of course the famous Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya move came, where Montoya accused the GOAT of being blind or stupid, to which I say to Montoya, screw you. How dare you insult the Lord Almighty, Michael Schumacher. Anyway, Atkins then heading, he's gone through Ackerman and Raleigh. Obviously, he will go purple. He's the first person to go round through the chicane. That looked good through there. It's easy to sort of lose the rear, get a bit unsettled, and especially invalidate either cutting it too tight or running wide. Final two corners then. A little bit of a lock up there, but that's not too bad. Final corner, carries the speed round. This is looking strong from Atkins. Oh, and he invalidates on the final corner. That is a shame for Atkins. I think we've got an Alfa Romeo coming round next, which will be Mr. Raratron. So Raratron is going to go provisional pole here with a 1 minute 17.1 to kick off proceedings. We've got a Mercedes coming through with you and immediately quicker with a 1:16.4. We've got Mad Mark coming through. He's on the soft tyres. He's gone through. Oh, he must have invalidated. He's not set a time. Betcher's on the hard tyres on lap with a 1:17.7, and Davies goes fastest to the 1:16.0 so far. We have, oh wait, I just missed A72 going through. We have the other Ferrari of Whitey, who's gone into the medium tyres, about to start a lap. Let's go look at Mr. Big Perry. Let's see what he can manage. He is peppering through the middle sector. 1:16 flat to beat so far. Evening, Gunners. Hope you're well. Hope I've not left you in too much of the shiitake mushrooms whilst I've been sunning myself away. Mr. Marcus, the Mr. Consistent P2 in the championship, the Dark Marcus. Big Perry goes fastest. It looked like a quick lap of 15.9. Goes fastest provisionally so far. Alfa Romeo coming through next. That will be probably a Raratron. We know that ever since I've been on this game, Rara has been one of those drivers that sort of just does laps initially, gets some laps in, and then guns it towards the end. One thing I was going to check actually, just because I've been away, I don't know whether this is a sprint weekend or just a normal weekend. I've seen people mentioning sprint weekend in the chat. Let's have a quick look. Who else have we got coming around the lap just so you can watch them while I'm coming through? We'll go on board with Mad Mark, who's done a 1:16.5 so far. Normal race. Okay, fair enough. So it's just a normal race. It is full qualifying. So effectively, we will lose nobody from Q1. So this is just get your eye in, have a bit of a practice, see where you're at. Mark at them come through Ackerman and Raleigh on the last game. This corner was horrific, but they've improved it on this game, and it's quite enjoyable now. But on the last game, it was so easy to just lose that rear end. A little bit deep there as he goes through, just missing the apex. You kind of want to clunk those curbs a bit as you're going through there. Take the straightest line possible. Final two corners then for Mad Mark. What can he manage as he comes up to the line, or is he going to bail into the pits? Of course he bails into the pits. He knew we were commentating, didn't want the drama. Agatha Wispy then, up on a time at the moment, and goes P8 just behind Rarat on the 2 Alfa Romeo, separated by just 3.5 tenths in Q1 thus far. We do have, I think it is Scott in the Alpine coming round. Atkins is on a lap actually. Not set a time yet. Okay, so if Apex joins before the end of Q1, then we will lose one driver. So we'll see if Apex gets in time. Round Ackerman flying through there. That's a great camera angle. You see the change of direction for the mighty Haas. But the final chicane, purple in sector 2, looking like a strong lap for the Haas driver. I think he's running. Is that an Ayrton Senna inspired helmet? I think it is, you know. I think he's running a nice Senna inspired helmet. That's a nice little touch there from Atkins. He comes around the final corner. Kind of use some of that Ayrton Senna Brazilian magic to catapult him up the order. Cross line is a 1:16.6 to get the Haas into 6th position. We have Edgar the Wispy still going around 1.4 seconds down, so this will likely be an in-lap for Agatha Wispy. And yes, in she comes. We do have a Mercedes on an outlap. And who is that coming around? I think it's Scott. So we've still got quite a few drivers yet to set a time. Here comes Scott then. Can he catapult his Alpine up the order? It's a 1:16.6 as well, 500ths of a second, or well, 400ths of a second, should I say, off the back of Atkins. Championship leader Bacon Soda. What can he manage then? He's invalidated on his first attempt. Cameron has DNF'd somewhere. Or has he done that in the pits? Yeah, it must be in the pits because Atkins is going around. So Cameron is now going to be praying that oh, and into the pits comes Bacon Soda. So yeah, Cameron's going to be hoping that Apex doesn't join, because then as long as Apex sets a lap, Cameron would be out. We do have the Thrive A72 getting in. Oh, he's well down in his time, so yeah, he'll be on an in-lap. Currently third in the standings on a 1:16.3 so far. Home race, of course, for the Scuderia. They'll be hoping for a strong performance today. We've got Ewan about to go through. What can he manage? A 15.8, and Ewan sets the fastest time so far in Q1. Half a tenth clear of Big Perry. So I've seen some great improvement from Big Perry since I've been commentating in RRF1. So great effort from him to get up into P2 so far. Of course, we still have three drivers yet to set a time, and Cameron, who of course has retired. Evening Wispy, hope you're doing good. Great to see you in the Monday division representing the mighty Alfa Romeo, which of course is a home race for them as well. The Italian mark, who of course will go back to being Sauber in real life next season. Alfa Romeo, I believe, rumoured to be becoming a new title sponsor of Haas, potentially. Who have we got on a lap at the moment? Just while we've got no action as far as flying laps are concerned, let's just have a quick nosy at the standings again. Like I said, a couple of teams have still got two cars racing. So there it is. So some of the teams, so Ferrari will be looking for a big improvement on their fortunes with A72 and Whitey. They are way down in the standings. Alpine, of course, hoping for some big points today. They've got both drivers racing. Red Bull have no drivers racing, and McLaren only have the one. So they'll be looking for a huge jump up, or at least some good points to closing on the top two. Okay, so Mad Mark back out on a lap. Let's see what he can do. Oh, we've got Baker Gaming, actually, who hasn't set a time yet, so let's see what he can manage. So the other Mercedes driver, currently, we've got one Mercedes driver leading at the top. The other Mercedes driver yet to set a time. Can Baker get himself up towards the sharp end of Q1? 6 minutes still to go. Plenty of action here in Q1. Considering, in fact, we do have 16 drivers now. So I think it's Revokes who's managed to get in. So Revokes now. So Cameron will be out of Q1. So I'm not sure if that's a bad judgment call or whether he had a quali ban. I'm not sure. If someone wants to let me know. But Cameron will miss out on a spot in Q2 now. Purple's in Sector 2 for Baker Gaming. Of course, that's purple of the people he needs to beat. So he's basically faster than Betches. I don't know why it does that on this game, the purple Sector 2. We're not going to know his true pace until he comes around to complete his lap. Oh, very close to track limits there, but keeps it just within the white lines, forcing it right out to the outside of the track. Comes across the line to do 1:17.2 and put himself P10 overall, splitting the Alfa Romeos. Bacon Soda then, yet to set a time, invalidated on his previous lap. What can the championship leader manage here today? We've also got Dark Mark yet to set a time, still sitting in the pits. Still 5 minutes to go, of course. But the two top protagonists in the championship are leaving it late in Q1 to set their time. Bacon Soda coming around the final two corners, right out to the white line again. Precision driving there from the McLaren man, the papaya driver. And here he comes across the line, does a 1:15.1, showing his pace and flexing those orange muscles. As he takes the fastest time overall so far. Who else have we got on a lap then? So we've still got Revokes in the pits. Who else is on a lap? Is Whitey on a lap? He is way down on his time, so I would guess at not. We've got Bake Gaming who's just done a lap, so he is... Is he improving? I think he's gone again, actually. Still looking fairly quick. Running out of ERS, though, so is he going to bail up into the pits? Yes, he is. And then Betchers, who is invalidated. So I think, unless A72 is on a lap, just a couple of tenth and a half off what he's done so far for the Ferrari. Again, they'll be hoping for a good result. We've got Mad Mark who's just come out on an out lap. What's the other Ferrari doing at the moment? He is a tenth and a half up at the moment, so he'll be looking to try and get his Ferrari a little bit higher up and get his iron ready for Q2. Hopefully some of these guys know it's full qualifying and not burning up lots of sets of tyres, because like I said, this has been one of those action-packed Q1s I can remember. There's been plenty of people out on track. But yeah, Bacon Soda at the top has quite an advantage over Ewan. Around the final corner comes Whitey. What can he do in the Ferrari? Comes across the line and does a 1:16.2 to put his Ferrari into P5 and edge out his teammate by 7/10 of a second. Coming around next, I think we will have not Revokes. It is another blue car of the Dark Mark. So let's go on board with league owner, or one of the league owners, and second place in the championship in the mighty Frenchmobile. Put flat to the floor. What speed does he reach? 205 mile an hour, 206 mile an hour, 207 as he heads towards the first chicane. Solid first sector so far from the Dark Mark. Just misses the curb on the left hand side, so that does then scrub your speed off all the way through the second part of that chicane. A couple of lines you can take to that hairpin. You can take it really tight, or you can take it a little bit wider to get a bit more speed on the way out. And is that rain? That rain on the screen is qualifying about to become a little bit on the wet side. Through Akamura Nurali goes. He just needs to get a clean lap in here, Dark Mark. But yeah, it looks like we are about to have a wet qualifying session. Through the chicane he goes. Throw up ahead, well out of the way. Good driving there. That's Whitey getting out of the way. Final two corners. Just need to keep it within the track limits here. And here he comes across the line. DRS still enabled, so it's still very dry out on track, but it is going to start getting slippy. It's a 16.3 to put himself into P6 so far. We have, who's coming through next? We have Mad Mark, who is invalidated, currently P8. We've got Revokes on a lap, who has invalidated, so he will go again on his next lap. Who else is on a lap at the moment? I believe nobody else. So it is just going to be Revokes that goes for a lap. Ewan has retired in the pits. His work is done for Q1. Revokes in the Williams. We'll be hoping to get his eye in, get some pace. Raritron there, he's also retiring in the pits. We'll probably see quite a few now retiring in the pits as we head towards the business end of qualifying, Q2, where, of course, the sandbags come off. And they have to start pushing at 100% to make sure they make it through to the top 10 shootout. Eight people tune in so far for qualifying, so thank you all for tuning in on this lovely Monday evening here in Imola. Round Aquaminerali goes on the soft tyres on what will now be slightly damp conditions with the rain falling. It's quite light at the moment. Hits the chicane quite hard there, but again, you do want to hit it quite hard to take the straightest line possible through there. Nice and tight as he comes towards the final two corners. What can Revokes do? Can he challenge higher up the field in the Williams? Like I said, it is getting wetter, so the answer will probably be no. But he's got a lap in, and you can see it's starting to get wet now. So if it continues to get wetter, then you're going to want to be out straight away in Q2. Of course, if it's going to dry, then you want to be last one out. So let's have a quick rundown of the order then. So Bacon Soda faster than 1:15.1, 7.5 tenths clear of the next fastest driver in Ewan. Big Perry takes P3 ahead of Davies in the Aston Martin. Whitey fifth fastest ahead of Dartmark. A72, meaning Dartmark in a Ferrari sandwich in Q1 there, and then Madmark in P8 in the second Aston Martin. Atkins takes P9 ahead of Scott. And then you've got Raratron in the Alfa Romeo, Bakey Gaming in the Mercedes, Agatha Wispy in P13, but will take a 5-place grid penalty, so she'll be hoping for a good qualifying lap in Q2 to set her up as high as possible. And then 2 Williams is 14th and 15th, with Cameron retiring in the pits, missing out on a Q2 spot. So Mr. Platypus, this is his debut as a full-time driver, no longer a reserve. The stabilisers are off. The pressure mounts as a full-time permanent AlphaTauri driver. And if you know anything about real Formula One, the AlphaTauri seat is a tricky seat to keep hold of in real life. They've had almost as many drivers as they have points. And there is the rain. Are we going to see people come out straight away? If we don't, then that will probably tell me it's going to dry up. And we do see some movement is that the Williams garage? It is indeed. So we have a Williams coming out first. Yeah, we've got a couple of guys now looking like they're on the move. Big Perry also coming out. Yeah, we've seen quite a bit of movement. So you want to get a lap in pretty quickly here in Q2, I would have thought. Our first person out is going to be Mr. Betches. Let's have a look. Okay, so everyone on intermediate tyres. And it's going to be quite a busy start to qualifying here, I imagine. Quite a few still staying in the pits, actually, so maybe it's not going to get much wetter than this. Yeah, 8 drivers out on track. I'm going to make that 9 drivers now. Oh, in fact, yeah, everybody's coming out now. There's only one driver that isn't, and that's Bakey Gaming. So, yeah. So it looks like it is going to be a case of get your best lap in early. And then just carry on doing laps. Get your feel for the damp conditions. Who knows? Maybe it lightens up towards the end, but yeah, even Baked Game is coming out now as well. So that's all 15 drivers out on track. This is going to be a busy qualifying session. You want to make sure you're leaving a big enough gap to the car behind. Let's go on board then with Betches and see how tricky these conditions are. You can see it's not too bad at the moment. It's starting to get damp. But it is definitely Inter's conditions. He heads towards that first chicane. Stays clear of those yellow sausage curbs. You don't want to be touching those in the wet. And just gets onto the curb a little bit. It can be slippy with the rears there. Lots of understeer there in the damp conditions. Again, that's going to scrub off a load of speed. And again, just missing the apex. It looks like the understeer seems to be more of an issue here for Betches than oversteer. So possibly running maybe lower front wing, which might indicate the race may be dry. Yeah, very tentative there is Betches. It's going to be tricky while you get your eye and get used to the conditions. Purple sector 2, but again, as we mentioned in Q1, he's the first one round. So of course he will go purple in all 3 sectors as he goes around the track. We have a yellow flag. There is a McLaren round. That will be Bacon Soda. Is he just getting out of the way? Let's have a quick look actually what Bacon Soda... Oh no! Bacon Soda is in the wall! So Bacon Soda, the championship leader, has lost it and hit the wall. Betches meanwhile does a 126.1. We've got Big Perry coming through to do a 1:23.9, immediately 2.2 seconds quicker as Rara does a 24.7 coming through. We've got an Aston Martin coming through next. Is that Mad Mark who's invalidated? Davies does a 1:24.9 as he comes through. Agatha Wispy with a 1:27.2. We've got the Haas of Atkins with a Ferrari behind, but he has invalidated. So it's A72 coming through next. What can he manage? Can he challenge the time of Big Perry? It's a 1:25.8 to go P4 so far. We have, who have we got coming through next? It's a Mercedes. Am I going to get to him in time? He's invalidated, so that won't count. We have the other Ferrari then of Whitey coming around the final corner. Yellow flag, and there is a crash further up, or are they getting out of the way? Let's have a quick look. There is a crash. There is, oh, spinning all over the place. Synchronized spinning almost. The Haas losing the rear end. The Ferrari's A72 has been round and hit the wall in the same place that Bacon Soda hit it. And that's actually on his cooldown lap, or was he just going again for another lap and lost it? So yes, he's going to have to jump into the pits and get those tyres changed then. Revokes did a 1:37.2 on his lap, so may have made a mistake as he was going around. We've got a Alfa Romeo coming through now, so that will be of RRF1. He's coming back into the pits though, out of the Alpha Tauri. Happy with his work so far. So who hasn't set a lap so far that's on a lap? So we've got Mad Mark coming around the final corner. What can he manage? 1:23.9 the fastest. Mad Mark backs out of it, decides that wasn't working for him. The Aston Martin of Davies is coming through. What can he manage? As he does not improve on his time, stays with a 1:24.9. Meanwhile, Ewan coming across the line in the Mercedes. Can he manage? It's going to be a 25.6, put himself P5 overall. We have the Haas driver next of Atkins. Across the line, and he does a 1:45.1. He's definitely made a mistake somewhere on that lap. Meanwhile, Revokes currently 9 seconds up on his time. What can he manage? And Revokes a 24.4. Big improvement there for the Williams man. Ferrari coming into the pits as we speak. We've got Bakey Gaming coming round. What can he do? It's going to be a 26.6 for Bakey Gaming, so he does not improve on his time. Meanwhile, Bacon Soda coming into the pits. Missing half of his front wing, of course, and not the ideal start for Bacon Soda in Q2. No time on the board. Currently sitting in 14th place, whereas his championship rival, Dark Marker, missed his time, currently sitting in P2 on a 24.0. Echo the Wispy. So the two Alfa Romeo drivers, happy with what they've done so far. Is that because it's going to get heavier? Has Bacon Soda missed the boat there? And they can see the Ferrari missing its front wing as well. Mad Mark on an out lap. Who else is on laps at the moment? We've got Davies coming around there. So Davies just doing laps at the moment, just getting used to these conditions. It looks like it's getting, yeah, it's definitely getting wetter. Bacon Soda under pressure here then in Imola. Like I said, DNF last time out in Monte Carlo. Giving Dark Mark the chance to try and gain some points back on him. And currently down in P14. So we've got a yellow flag. That's just a Mercedes getting out of the way. Revokes. Not on a lap. Who else have we got that's on a lap? Baker Gaming down on the time. Scott not improving. Atkins is on a lap, so let's see what Atkins can do. And look how wet it's getting. It's not going to be far off full wets at this rate. Okay, so the rain is going to start easing towards the end of Q2, but at the moment, I think that's too wet for people to improve. I think Bacon Soda's got his work cut out for him here. So it's going to be potentially last man over the line at the end of Q2. It's going to have the better track conditions, but it just looks so wet out there now. Oh, a big slide there on Atkins as he gets onto the power. And he loses the rear. He was 0.8 up on his time, but loses the rear of the car. So some of these drivers still manage to find some pace, but round he goes, Atkins, and he's got a driver coming. He's going to have to get out of the way, and he does so. So that is a shame for Atkins. Mad Mark, meanwhile, is on a lap. Currently not set a lap time, so if he wants to get himself into the top 10 shootout for Q3, he needs to find a lap now. Currently Baker Gaming sitting in P10 as Apex has joined, so we're going to have 17 drivers for the race. Great turnout here for Imola. So heading up to the chicane as he starts Sector 3, purple in Sector 2, which means he's quicker than the P10 man at the moment, but of course he has to put all 3 sectors together. So drivers still finding time, which is a good sign for Bacon Soda. So hopefully he, for himself, should be able to get himself through to Q3. This will be a good indication as to what times people are setting. So Mad Mark coming around the final corner. How close can he get? A bit of a wiggle there on the exit. He's going to come across the line and put himself to P11. Misses out on the top 10 by just half a tenth. Meanwhile, Bacon Soda runs off the track. Bacon Soda runs off the track. No invalidation, though. That could cost him some time. He's throwing everything at it, but it could cost him here. Into the hairpin. Bit of a slide as he comes out of it. Climbing up the hill now. There's a Haas round as well. That might be that'll be Atkins that is round at the chicane, or unless he was stopping to let the Alpine go through, maybe. Oh, another slide there. That Bacon Soda giving this everything to try and claw back some time that he may have lost from running off the track. And oh, and a huge slide at the chicane. That is a massive slide from Bacon Soda, and yes, he has backed out of this lap. He's going to try and build that ERS back up and go again. The championship leader is under pressure here in Imola. There is an Aston Martin coming up behind as well, so he's going to have to back out of it. What can the Aston Martin who's coming around? That's Mad Mark, who's trying to find some pace to improve, but he's down on his time at the moment. Is he going to come into the pits? He does that. He will get one more crack at it. Dark Mark retires in the pits. He's happy with his job so far. It's getting wetter. Bacon Soda 136.9. He needs to find some time. Just under 4 minutes still to go. So everybody still has time to get one more lap in. But you can see the puddles. It is treacherous out there. You can see he's drifting all through Sector 1. Perry retires in the pits as well. Fastest overall in the wet conditions. He'll be very pleased. Debut as a full-time driver, and he's fastest so far in Q2 in the wet conditions. And Bacon Soda lighting up the rear end, and he's backed out again. He will get one more crack at it. Well, probably more than one crack at it, depending on whether he gives up again. But I just think it's a little bit too wet. Now, does he come in, put on a fresh set of inters, and hope that the rain starts to ease enough for him to be the last person over the line? Yep, he has a Williams coming past, so let's go on board with that Williams. That will be revoked on an out lap. Oh, and as we go on board, oh, big squirrely moment there. And he's going to have, is he going to let him go? Yes, he is. So he's going to let Bacon Soda go through. We've got Whitey on a lap. Ewan retires from the session in the pits. Who's the furthest one round then? Is it Atkins? Bacon's needs to start a lap. He's 6 seconds down his time though. Is he going to come into the pits or go again? He is going to go again. So let's stay with Whitey then. Through Acca Minerali on this very wet track. Currently P9. Both Ferraris going through at the moment. Both Williams going through at the moment. And so far we are losing the Aston Martin of Mad Mark, the Alpine of Scott, and some drivers. So Scott has put on the wet tyres. I think Bacon Soda is going to finish in P15 here. I think he has missed the chance with that spin early on in Q2. We will go on board with him in a second, just see how he's getting on. He's got an Aston Martin right in front of him on the track. Here he goes, 1 minute 30. Let's go on board with Bacon Soda, who is in front of... Oh, so Bacon is on a lap and Mad Mark is on an out lap. wonder if Bacon Soda may have just been held up for a little bit there. With the wiggle of the wheel, they looked possibly a little bit irritated by that and cut to the chicane. Yeah, look, as he's revving the engine. Frustrated in the cockpit there. Yeah, I mean on the track map, Mad Mark and Bacon Soda were very close together. With Mad Mark being on the outlap, I just wonder if he's not realised that he was behind. He is going to get time to go again, but oh no, he's not. He is going to be out of fuel, so into the pits he comes, and Bacon Soda is going to start this race from P14, because of course Eka the Wispy has that grid penalty. Meanwhile, Mad Mark needs to find 0.6 of a second in these wet conditions. It's going to be very tough, I think, to find any extra time here. And like I said, you've got, I mean, Scott's gone out on the wet tyres. Oh, Scott spun, okay. So Bacon Soda will start Imola from P15, so he's going to have to try and do a recovery drive here this evening. While Dark Mark currently going through to the top 10 shootout, second fastest overall so far. What can Mad Mark manage? Goes through Acca Minerale, runs a bit wide, but no invalidation. Betcher's happy with what he's done. I think everyone will be happy as they can be now, because I don't think anyone's going to find an improvement. Yeah, Mad Mark is 1.7 seconds down. Scott is round again there at Acca Minerale, even on the wet tyres, struggling to keep it in a straight line. Yeah, conditions proving very tricky out there. Of course, Bacon would not have been in that position had he not have lost it on the main lap that everyone was trying to get in. That first lap was the important lap when the track was at its best, and it's not quite died down enough the rain for anyone to really get an improvement. So we do lose Mad Mark. Like I said, just 5.5 tenths off a T, not 5.5 sorry, 5.5 hundredths. So half a tenth off a top 10 berth. Scott, meanwhile, will finish in P12. Through he goes. And of course, we will do a rundown of the finishing order. So, there we have it. Everyone's setting their times on intermediates. Big Perry then, as we mentioned before, his debut as a full-time driver for AlphaTauri. Evening, Woodsy. Hope you're doing good, my man. I'm sure you're doing what you normally do on a Monday night and sorting out Saturday results. So yeah, Big Perry then fastest in Q2 on the intermediates, just ahead of second place in the championship man, Dark Mark. Revokes through in P3 ahead of Raratron in the Alfa Romeo. Davies in P5 ahead of Ewan. Both Ferraris through with A72 in P7. Betcher's in P8 in the second Williams. Whitey P9. Baker Gaming in the Mercedes. We lose Mad Mark, Scott, Eka the Wispy, Atkins, and the big shock of Q qualifying so far, Bacon Soda. So as I mentioned, he made that mistake at the start of Q2, losing that front wing, had to pit, had the invalidation, and then what looked like possibly getting held up on his, what was his final attempt in Q2. Whether or not he would have been able to get through because the track was just getting wetter, we will never know. But yeah, we will see. Everyone then looks like they're selecting wet tyres, so it's got wetter. Is it going to dry up enough at the end? Are we going to see anybody come out early on in Q3, or are we going to have a lull? No movement as of yet, so of course anyone that is watching along, get your predictions in as to who you think is going to be a top 3 in qualifying. You can no longer pick Bacon Soda, who is usually one of the picks for pole position. Yeah, everyone picking those wet tyres. First man out is going to be Revokes. So Revokes is going to be the first man out. Oh, TSD tables as well, of course. Bacon Soda has left the league server. So the championship leader has left the server. What? I'm not seeing him leave the lobby. Surely... yeah. No words. No words. Well, if he wants to leave the server over a qualifying incident, when he has the pace to come through the field, then yeah, it would have been interesting watching him come through the field. But yeah, well, fair enough. Just means we're going to have an AI car get in the way now. Brilliant. Anywho, and whoa, and a big slide, and round goes Revokes on his outlap. Keeps it out of the wall, thankfully, for the Williams man. Couple of cars behind there jockeying for position. The other Williams has gone out on intermediates. That'll be interesting to see who has picked the right strategy for tyres there. He's got a big penalty from last week to add on as well. Oh dear. Oh dear indeed. Well, I'm sure we're still going to have a great race. Might be worth seeing if he is in his car at the start of the race, because if he's left the league server, yeah, I'd probably just be a bit nervous that he doesn't decide to do something a bit crazy in the race. If he's a bit frustrated and cannonball everyone into turn one, just maybe. I mean, I'll obviously watch out for it on the stream, but yeah, for you watching there, Woods, you might need to be ready to make a call on a on the race. If like I said, I haven't seen it come up saying he's left the lobby. Oh, and a huge sideways moment for Revokes there on the wet tyres. There's an Aston Martin coming round. That'll be Davies, who's invalidated. So Raratron is going to be the next person through. So see, he can manage. He's opted for the wet tyres as well. Going up to the final two corners there in the Alfa Romeo. Got to say, I think Raratron is one of the people I've raced with longest on this game. Trying to think who I've raced with longer. I think the first league I ever joined, Raratron was probably in it. And if he wasn't racing it, he was commentating on it. But 128.4 for Raratron as he's the first person to set a time. And Betches immediately beats it by 3/10 on the intermediate tyres. So is the intermediate tyre the way to go? Ewan does a 128.8. We've got an AlphaTauri coming through now. Oh, Big Perry does a 126.4 on the intermediates. Intermediate tyre is definitely the quicker tyre to be on then. As who we've got coming across the line next? It is a Ferrari on an outlap. Who else have we got? Baker Gaming is coming up to the line now. He has opted for the wet tyres as well, and he does a 127.6 to split the two into runners. So some of them still finding pace on the wet tyre. We've got the Alfa Romeo of Rara going again. Looks like he's pushing quite hard. Some of these drivers, I'd be tempted to just pit now and whack a set of intermediates on, because that time from Big Perry is going to make a lot of people sit up and think that's pretty pacey. That he's a 1.2 seconds clear of the fastest wet runner at the moment. We'll see what Rara can do on his next run. Currently running, lining up P4 in the Alfa Romeo. Final corner. Is he going to dive off into the pits? Yes, he is. Davies then, he's opted for wet tyres, whereas Whitey behind has opted for inters. So we'll compare their two times. Lobby restart after qualifying. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. As Big Perry goes even faster with a 25.9 on the intermediates. And yes, Davies coming into the pits as well. Yeah, Gunners, I think that's a smart decision. Obviously, I have nothing against Bacon Soda. If things aren't going his way and he wants to leave, that's entirely up to him. At the end of the day, it is only a game. However, having said that, if you're frustrated and you've left the league and you're still in the lobby, my worry is that he just cannonballs the entire field at turn one, which, I mean, it'd be entertaining for me. for the other 14 drivers. I imagine they'd be quite frustrated. Whitey, meanwhile, does a 127.6 on those intermediates. Who's coming round next? So Betcher's then on the intermediates. Can he improve on his 28.1? He's almost a second up at the moment, so they are finding time on these intermediate tyres. How much more time can he find? Can he challenge the time of Big Perry? He's looking like he'll get into the 126s here. How close can he get to the AlphaTauri driver? Final corner he comes, and across the line for the Williams man. Can he shoot up the order? He does a 27.4 to go P2 overall so far. Big Perry still with a huge advantage. Revokes currently on an... Oh, is that someone in the background? Not sure. Meanwhile, Ewan has invalidated. He's going to dive off into the pits. Whitey behind on the intermediates. He goes through for a 27.5 to improve, and he is P3 now, ahead of Baker Gaming. We've got the AlphaTauri coming through next. Coming into the pits. Who have we got on the lap at the moment? So Revokes, who hasn't set a time at the moment, goes purple in Sector 1. Here comes the challenge for provisional pole. There's 4.5 minutes left of the session. Big Perry into the pits, most likely to put on a fresh set of boots. But can Revokes take pole position away from Big Perry on his full-time debut? Exia, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the stream, my man. Hope you're doing good. I was hoping to see you on the grid tonight. You need to get yourself in the lobby. You got 4 minutes. Get yourself in the lobby. Have a race. Not that it's my call, of course, but, you know, there's a couple of admins in the chat. So. You know, Revokes. Final 2 corners. What can he manage? The Duracell Bunny, the Williams car. Final corner. And now it's foot flat to the floor. Across the line. Is he going to take first pole? He does. A 124.6. 1.3 seconds quicker. The track is ramping up here in Imola. I think this is going to be a case of last one across the line. And yes, Exia, that would help if you bought the game. Yeah. Maybe don't join the lobby. I mean, not that you'd be able to. Anyway, Raratron has put on soft tyres. Interesting. Dartmouth, meanwhile, is coming out of the pits. Well, he's on his flying lap, should I say now. I think A72 is going to be the next one across the line, though, in the Ferrari. Like I said, it's going to keep getting faster and faster. Big Perry is now on an outlap as well, so they're all coming out for their final runs. Yeah, Rara has put some. He's gone back to the intermediate, so it's nowhere near soft weather yet. So he's probably just teasing us in the comms box and seeing if he can trick anyone into doing the same thing. Currently lining up P7 of the 7 guys that have set a time. And I'm sure he has a bit more time in him than that because the track is getting faster and faster by every corner. Final 2 corners then for race 72 in the Ferrari. His teammate currently on 127.5. What can he manage as he comes around the final 2 corners? It's looking pretty quick, this. Heads towards the line. He's got the Williams right in his tail as well. The Williams dives off into the pits. And it's a 126.2 to put the Ferrari into P3 so far. We've got Dartmark who's invalidated. He's going to have to go again. P2 in the championship, which effectively becomes P1, I guess, if Bacon Soda has left. Yeah, spoils the championship fight a little bit that we've lost our championship leader, but Dartmark won't mind. Davies coming across the line. He goes fastest for the 124.2 to beat Revokes, who is retired in the pits, running out of time to get out again. What is Big Perry currently? Big Perry has just started a lap. Where's Darkmark? So Darkmark purple in Sector 1. Darkmark seeing if he can get pole position here in Imola. We'll go to Big Perry shortly to see if he can regain that pole. He was fastest on the intermediate track in Q2. What can he do in Q3? He needs to find quite a bit of time, but the track is ramping up every time they cross the finish line. Purple in Sector 2 for Dark Mark. He's done purple Sector 1. Goes through that final chicane. It's just the final two 90-degree left-handers to go. And then the run to the finish line. What can he manage? Williams there getting nicely out of the way for the Alpine. Final corner then. Can he keep it in track limits this time? He can indeed. Bit of a slide on the exit, but it's foot to the floor. What can he do? It's a 124.2 to beat. He gives a 125.1. It's P3 so far. What is Big Perry doing? He's half a second up. He needs to find a bit more time still. Does Big Perry? He's fourth at the moment. Can he get that AlphaTauri back to the front row of the grid? It's a 124.5. P2 for Big Perry. Overall, we've got Davies currently 8 tenths. Oh, he's down on his time, so we've got the Mercedes coming through of Baker Gaming. He's 1.4 seconds up. P5 overall. His teammate Ewan is just starting a lap. So he is going to be, is he the last person of the line? So he has got the best chance to steal this from everybody. He will be on the driest of the damp track. So let's stay on board with Ewan at the moment. I'll try and keep track of the times that are going through. He's going to have a busy track ahead of him. He's on a 128 at the moment. Needs to find 3.8 seconds if he's going to challenge Davies at the front. Raritron, meanwhile, does a 125.1 to get the Alfa Romeo into the top 5 provisionally. Ewan then in that Lewis Hamilton Mercedes, the one with the bright yellow bit on the front of the halo. Yellow flag in front of his cars jumping out of the way. Getting nice out of the way. It's been some good track etiquette here tonight. Great to see. What can Ewan do as he heads towards the second sector split? How far? He's almost 2 seconds up. Whiter then doesn't improve as he stays on 126.7. Ewan trying to see what he can gain. He's good in about a second. Who's that improved? That's Betches who goes P6 so far. We've still got Davies and Big Perry on the front row. It's the final 2 corners to go for Ewan. Big Perry does a 124.0 to retake pole position here in Imola, but Ewan is going to come across the line now. What can he manage? Ewan goes, and it's a P7 with a 25.2. Baker Gaming has invalidated. The Dark Mark, meanwhile, is not improving. So that is it for qualifying. Big Perry, on his debut as a full-time driver for AlphaTauri, steals pole position away from the Aston Martin of Davies with a last gasp lap to do a 124.0. The track kept improving. Ewan couldn't quite find the time that he needed to challenge at the front, but it still improved up to a P7. Mighty close times from P4 down to P9 there, just 0.4 of a second separating 6 drivers. So of course, if you just want to just confirm there will be a lobby restart, Gunners, just to make sure. I believe there will be a lobby restart just because of Bacon Soda's car. But until I know for sure, let's do a quick rundown of the top 10 shootout. So Big Perry, debut for as a full-time driver in the AlphaTauri. He'll be impressing the Red Bull hierarchy. With a 124.0, quarter of a second clear in the end of Davies. He has got some pace in the way. He was fastest in Q2 and a fastest again in Q3. Davies then takes second on the grid for a front row start. Revokes then is P3 ahead of Darkmark, who lines up alongside him. Rara will start on the third row ahead of Betches, with Ewan and A72 making up the fourth row. Baker Gaming in P9 and the second Ferrari of White in P10. So both Ferraris getting through on their home race to hopefully finally score some decent points and try and move their Ferrari team up the constructors' standings. And yes, get in there, Lewis. Although you're driving an AlphaTauri, so should it be get in there, Yuki? Oh, and it's a wet race. It's a wet race as well. This is going to be absolute chaos. It's going to be carnage. So, as always, a 5-minute break before the race gets underway. If there's a lobby restart, I will let you know anyway. Just a big mention again, 1994. One of the darkest moments in motorsport. Ayrton Senna, Roland Ratzenberger, both losing their lives here in Imola in what was one of the saddest weekends in more recent Formula One times. Of course, if you look back to things like the 70s, when and earlier, where there were death was almost a regular occurrence for Formula One, and I believe everyone is leaving. So let me rejoin the game. Main overtaking opportunities in Imola. I mean, anyone who watches or knows Formula One will know this track probably like the back of their hand. It's one of the most famous tracks on the calendar. So obviously you've got the run towards, I mean, I call it turn 1 and 2, that first chicane, but it's technically turn 2. You've got a long straight, cars usually going side by side. You need to try and get the move done before the braking zone to make a clean pass into that chicane. If you get a good run through the second bit chicane for turns 5 and 6, you can sometimes make a dive up the inside or even around the outside of turn 7. There is sometimes an overtaking opportunity out of Acqua Minerale if the car in front doesn't get a good exit and you get a good drive through for P14 into turn 14s and 15. After that, then you want to really stay behind and try and stay as close as possible as you come out of turn 18 and head towards start-finish straight for the long DRS straight. Quickly load these standings back up again. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just pointing out in the stream chat there. So the kink, the turn 1 kink, that's I mean, I don't class it as a corner, but George Russell does when he decided to murder Valtteri Bottas. Alright, let me just get back into the lobby. So there are the championship standings. Bacon Soda, of course, has left the server. So that means that Dark Mark is now the championship leader, I believe, unless Bacon Soda can be convinced to return. But it does mean Dark Mark has a great opportunity to close that gap whilst we decide what Bacon Soda wants to do with his Formula One career. Camera, of course, currently in P3 in the championship, but hasn't started a race for quite some time. And then you've got TSD Apex, who is 4th in the championship, which may well become 3rd, or even 2nd, depending on what happens with Kamarov and Master Spread seats. Like I said, I can't remember the last time them two raced on a Monday. Biggest battle I think that we're seeing now is the constructors. I think that's what everyone is really fighting for. The McLaren team, who have nobody racing for them tonight, as do Red Bull. Unless Apex... Oh no, Apex did manage to make it in time, didn't he? So Red Bull do have a driver. So they can make a move on McLaren at the top now. Alpine, meanwhile, have both drivers racing tonight. So will Scott and Dark Mark have a chance to get the Alpine close to the McLarens and see if they can leapfrog and make this a really close battle for the top. Haas, of course, they have... so they've got Ranzol, who's not racing tonight, and Atkins, who is racing tonight. And Cameron in as a reserve. So they've got both drivers who can score some solid points for the Haas team. Aston Martin, obviously they've got Mad Mart racing for them this evening. And the other Aston Martin is Master Spread, who of course hasn't raced. So yeah, so Mad Mark hoping to score some solid points for the Aston Martin team. Racing there with a Cypriot flag in the lobby, but he is British, I can assure you. Williams just 13 points behind Aston Martin. They have Kamarov, who isn't racing tonight, and Betchers racing in the Williams. The other Williams driver currently tonight with the American Revokes, who showed some good pace throughout qualifying, some good solid pace. Then you've got the Mercedes drivers. They are further 16 points behind the Williams. So tonight you've got that with Ewan and Bakey Gaming. And then behind them we've got the Alfa Romeos, so that is Agatha Wispy and Raratron. Of course, fairly recently they've introduced a child to the world, so there is another baby Raratron, baby Agatha Wispy. Not another one, sorry, the first one. Who, of course, will be a future Formula One world champion, of course. Ferrari, they are 9th in the Constructors' Championship, just 2 points clear of AlphaTauri. So they are in danger tonight, Ferrari, with obviously Platypus. Sorry, Big Perry. I keep calling him Big Platypus because that's his name in in the stream chat. But with Big Perry taking that pole position, could be scoring some good, strong points for AlphaTauri tonight. Could mean that Ferrari drop to P10 in the Constructors if they don't have a good race tonight at their home, one of their 2 home Grand Prix. Of course, AlphaTauri have Big Perry racing for them. 17 drivers on the grid. Gaming Minion is in the... Who is Gaming Minion? Admin... Can someone tell me who that is? He's jumped in the second AlphaTauri, whoever it is. He's a Dutchman. Kick him! Kick him! Kick the Dutchman! We don't need a Dutchman. Oh! It's Wilco Stewart. Apologies. He's one of the few Dutchmen I do like. My apologies. He's okay. We can keep him. He's an honour. He's a good Dutchman. That was one of those quick backtracks when you realise you've just accidentally insulted a nation. So everyone's starting to ready up now, so they must have done the grid. Agatha Wispy needs to pick a car, though. Pick your Alfa Romeo, Miss Wispy. I didn't call her Mister then. So remember, guys, remember your setups. There'll be I imagine there'll be a couple of minutes break when you get going. It is a wet race. I'm not sure how wet it is, whether it's inters or wet weather tyres, but just remember your setups. You'll have a few minutes to get those setups up and running. Cameron is racing. Yeah, he didn't make it through... I don't think Cameron made it through Q1, if I remember correctly. But of course, with the weather conditions like they are, it is a long race. So any incidents, just remember, keep going. It's a long race. Plenty of incidents, plenty of chance to get some points. But as I've mentioned, remember those setups. Very important to have the best setup you can possibly have, especially for a wet race. Masterclass in Q1, yeah. You're doing the last to first challenge. Go for driver of the day. And there it is. There it is. It's a wet pit lane. Which obviously means a wet track. It's always a tricky track to overtake at Imola in the wet. Because do you go for the slightly lower downforce, so you've got the pace down that long straight, but then you struggle through the twistier bits. But you can't overtake through the twisty bits. As long as you keep it on that racing line, it's hard to make a pass. But then, of course, you'll have the pace down the start-finish straight to keep them behind. Or do you go for the high downforce? So you've got that grip, so you can try and make some moves. Try and send one up the inside, drive around the outside of someone, and then pull away before you get to the straight. It's that balancing act when it comes to setup. It's always a case of straight line speed versus downforce. 12 people joining the stream so far, so thank you all for tuning in. For anyone that has any predictions, I'll get the grid order back up for you so you can see them. So there you have it. That is your grid order. Everyone looks like they're choosing wet tyres. Look, Cameron going for the intermediate tyres. Interesting. But yeah, that is your grid order. Again, we'll just do a quick reminder of it. So Big Perry and Davies on row 1. Revokes Dartmark row 2. Raratron P5 ahead of Betches, Ewan A72, Baker Gaming and Whitey running at the top 10. We then have Madmark in P11 ahead of Scott, Atkins in P13 ahead of Cameron, TSC Apex, Gaming Minion, also known as Wilco Stewart, and then Agatha Wispy picked up that 5th-place grid drop in Q1. We'll start from P17 at the back of the grid. Shame for Alfa Romeo because it was looking like a solid qualifying, but of course that grid drop has dropped her right down, unfortunately. But great to see her racing in the Monday division tonight. Predictions so far we've seen. So, evening, Mr. Stroud. Welcome to the stream. Mr. Stroud going for Cameron in a top 3. So we'll see if that call comes off. I think Big Perry is going to be tough to stop in the wet if qualifying was anything to go by. That AlphaTauri man had plenty of pace in the wet conditions. Dark Mark, from my own experience, I know he has good pace in the wet. All these drivers are going to be quick drivers. They're solid drivers. Big Perry picking himself for the win. Hopefully you haven't jinxed yourself there, Mr. Platypus. So again, if you haven't already, just remember to pick your setups. Tell you what, Mr. Perry, if you could get, you got pole. If you can get fastest lap as well and the win, imagine that, a hat-trick on your full race debut. Or your permanent seat debut, should we say. So again, just another nod and a reminder. Of course, we are remembering the late great Ayrton Senna and late great Roland Ratzenberger tonight. Every time I do an Imola stream, I've been watching Formula 1 since the early 90s. Loved Ayrton Senna. And I'm a huge Michael Schumacher fan, but I don't think there's a single Formula 1 driver that would not say Ayrton Senna is one of the greatest drivers to ever grace the heralded tarmac. And yeah, they both, very sadly, of course, as everyone will know, they both sadly lost their lives on that fateful weekend in Imola. They've since changed the track a little bit, made it a little bit safer, but it is still one of the great tracks. So, formation lap is underway. Let's get full track map on, and we'll get... So tyres, everyone in the end has gone for the wet tyres. Let's get position changes, that's what we'll do first. We'll get position changes, and then after the first lap we'll go back. Everyone will be on the wet tyres anyway. So unless it starts to get drier, then we won't need to really look at the tyres. A little bit wide there from Davies on the formation lap. Car park there. They have our potential new championship leader, depending on what happens with Bacon Soda. Like I said, I believe he's left the server, but if he rejoins, then obviously I'm sure the admins will discuss with him about things like race conduct and things like that. They're usually very good at making sure the rules are followed. And oh, the Alfa Romeo, they're getting really close to the back. And they actually touched. Oh, they did touch. So 3 cars there. And then another 2. So, oh, come on, guys. It's a formation lap. Let's leave a bit of space. So 5 cars will start on colder tyres. It did look like the Alfa Romeo got close to the back of the Alpine there, and they must just have the slightest of touches. It looks like Betches may have been caught up as that as well, and then the domino effect has then caused potentially the Ferrari and the Mercedes to have a bit of a touch as well. So that'll give an advantage to some drivers around who won't have freezing cold tyres. There are 2 Red Bulls now, so that's going to help them in the Constructors with 2 Red Bull drivers. But we are following Big Perry. Pole sitter. Full seat debut. Permanent seat debut for Big Perry. He will start alongside the Aston Martin of Davies. Let's keep it clean into turn 1, remember. It is a long 32-lap race in wet conditions. It is not won on the first lap, but is most certainly lost. Hopefully we're going to get a nice angle here. Let's go on board with Davies. Is Davies going to get a good enough start? Not quite then, as he doesn't get the move done. Ewan looks like he's made a move already. And Alfa Romeo Rara already up the inside of Dark Mark, and there's a spin! There's a Williams round and an Alfa Romeo round. There's carnage at turn 1. Raratron picks up a 5-second time penalty. It's absolute chaos at turn 1. It's such a shame for Rara. He made such a good start. But round he goes. I didn't quite see what happened. Revokes involved as well. And yeah, absolute chaos. Oh, and there's another car round. Who's that? That is Scott round and a Haas car. It's a very messy lap 1 here in Imola. And there's a Red Bull of Apex already looking to make a move. And already up to P9, up 6 places with all the incidents that have just happened. Big Perry and Davies have scampered up out front already with a 3-second lead as a Haas runs very wide there of Atkins. Mad Mark there up the inside of Atkins as well. Yeah, he looks like he was going to lose a position there. Yeah, you might be a little bit busy after. Oh, and there's a crash. A72 is out of the race. Big crash for the Ferrari man, and the bad luck for Ferrari continues here, and they continue to drop points from solid positions. And it's such a shame for A72. I don't know if someone hit him or not there. I just saw the car in the wall, but it's been absolute carnage from the start. But they're all going to get bumped right up, or jumbled right up, should we say. And the front two, who got a huge lead already, they're going to lose that lead now. We are going to see quite a few drivers pit, I imagine. Quite a few drivers with some front wing damage there, and the likes of Raratron can now serve his 5-second penalty and get rid of that. Yep, into the pits comes Raratron. Agatha Wispy also into the pits there. Yep, everyone just putting fresh wet tyres on there. Yeah, front wing change for Agatha Wispy. Also, both Alfa Romeos needing a front wing change. So that is 1, 2, 6 drivers then, all pitting. Was it 7 drivers? Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, it is 6 drivers. Sorry. So then Whitey then is in P11, Atkins P12, Wilco Stewart P13, Baker Gaming P14, Agatha Wispy P15, and Raratron down to P16, and a recovery drive incoming for Raratron. He'll be looking to make some moves. A bit of a timing problem there, because Cameron is most definitely not 1 minute and 48 seconds ahead of Mad Mark, considering he's behind him on the track, and Scott is most definitely not 1 minute and 50 seconds behind Cameron. So something's happened with Cameron's timing there, causing a bit of a issue. Hopefully that'll rejig itself when they cross the finish line. Well, let's we can have a bit of a catch up as to where we're up to now. So tyre wise, everyone's still on the wet tyres, position changes, that's what we want. So Big Perry then held on to P1 into turn 1. Good start from Big Perry and both Davies. They shot off like scalded rats. Betches then, what's that penalty for? So it's a 3-second penalty for Betches already. And Cameron is, what's happening with Cameron? They seem to be battling for position. Bit of a drag race under the safety car there, interesting. But Cameron hangs on to P8, so and the timings have reset themselves, and now it's Scott, who is 1 minute and 51 seconds behind. He's about to be passed by Atkins and Wilco Stewart as well. Yep. Yep, so Scott comes out in P12 then, so I think all the timings have managed to reset themselves now, which is good, because now I don't have to guess how far someone is behind. Ferrari then at the back of the field, he has one hell of a recovery drive ahead of him, after making starting P5, having a great start. Now I don't know if he tagged the Williams, or if the Williams tagged him, but either way, both Rarachon and the Williams are revoked. So round revokes, though, has actually managed to recover back to P9, so he avoided damage and stayed out to recover some of those positions he lost. So if we look at the position gain so far, Big Perry and Davies as they were, Betcher's up 3, Dartmark as he was, Ewan, he's got a 2 next to him, but it's also saying as he was, so I think he's up 2. Oh, you gotta love this game. You've got Michael Massey doing it tonight. Penalties for everybody, unless you're a Red Bull. So well done, Apex. Apex up 9 places so far, so started down in P15 after joining through Q2. He is already up to P6. Mad Mark up 4 up to P7, and Cameron up 6 into P8. That prediction from Mr. Stroud of a top 3 finish is not looking too bad, is it, for Mr. Cameron? Revokes then down 6. Like I said, he was involved in that incident at turn 2 with Rarachon. Atkins up 3. And then you've got Gaming Minion up 5, and we've got a couple more people pitting. Now, are they... I wonder if they're going to stick some intermediate tyres on. Let's see what they put on. Oh, they are! They're putting on intermediates! So Davies has gambled and put intermediate tyres on. And Cameron has put fresh, wet tyres on. Not sure of the decision behind that one to pit, unless that's a mistake. But yeah, Game Minion then is now 9th. Up 7 places now. Scott up 2 places. That means Apex is into the top 5 now after starting in 15th place. You got Baker Gaming down to Eggerth Whiskey up 5 now after despite pitting. Whitey down 3. Rarachon down 9. Davies down 13, but he has opted to pit and gamble and go on to intermediate tyres. Now, tell you what, if you can stay on the racing line, that does look like an intermediate track. It's when you go offline and you see all those puddles that it will struggle to clear the water. Tyre wear is insane. Ah, okay, fair enough. See, if the tyre wear is insane this early on, that tells me they're probably overheating, which means I think that could be intermediate weather. I think Davies has called an absolute blinder here. Safety car in this lap then. So Big Perry will lead, will become the pace setter. Betches will be behind him. Dartmark in P3. He'll be looking to get a jump on Betches so he can go off chasing after Big Perry. Let's stay on board with, in fact, let's stay on board with Davies on those intermediate tyres. See what kind of purchase he gets out of the final corner. So race engineer is still saying wet tyres are faster. Interesting. Okay. And, oh, there's a car sliding off the track there. That is Rarachon. So Rarachon having an eventful start to this race. When the lead has already gone, let's see what Davies can do then. Keep an eye on the gaps for any overtaking opportunities. There are some. Game Minions picks a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is not what Wilco Stewart will have wanted. Move here going on is Rarachon looking for a move on Whitey here. Up the inside goes Rarachon on his teammate Eggerth Whiskey. And oh, and there's contact there. I think Eggerth Whiskey got on the curb and slowed, ended up causing it to go really slow in the exit, and round she's gone. Meanwhile, Davies up to P12 after that. Whitey down to P13. Get the tyres on the go now. Gaming Minion has opted to pit for those inters, but picked up a speeding in the pit lane penalty. So let's see what Davies is doing then on those intermediate tyres. It's drying. Inters are the best tyre. Well, is this a race-winning call? Oh, up front, what is going on here? And yes, Dartmark has got P2 ahead of... Oh, and that was a bit of a lunge back from Betches. That was never going to work into the chicane. And Dartmark has got a 3-second time penalty there. It's probably not his fault. That might be one for the stewards to look at. with regards to whether that penalty was justified or not. It did look a little bit late, that move. The return attack from Betches. Davies already up to P11 and a lot of sliding going on. As Mad Mark is up to P6 then. Side by side with Revokes. Revokes seeing if he can make a move. Meanwhile, Atkins looking to see if he can make a move on Revokes now. Round the outside he goes. Is he going to try and hang it round the outside? This is where, of course, Max squeezed Lewis a couple of years ago. Betches with a 3-second time, but they're still side by side. Absolutely stunning racing with Revokes and Atkins just has to back out of that one in the end as we go to the beautiful helicopter shot here. And we have Scott now closing in on them too. His Apex has got Betches further up ahead, but Betches fighting back. Let's quickly go on board with these two. And they're 3 abreast. They're 3 abreast as Mad Mark goes through them all. And Mad Mark up to P4, Apex P5, Revokes P6. A huge crash. There's 3 cars involved. Oh, it's chaos. No words. I don't even know what to say. Yep. So Revokes then is behind Apex as this has turned into a version of Demolition Derby as Big Perry gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is crucial for his race. So everyone's coming into, it's like a few cars coming into the pits then as Mad Mark stays out to take the lead of this race. Atkins putting pressure under Mad Mark as they head towards turn 1. Oh no, Dark Mark stayed out as well, so he leads the race. Down the inside goes the Aston Martin, a little bit of contact. Looked like the slightest bit of contact there, really was on the smallest bit, and ooh, it almost goes around again there, does Atkins? Meanwhile, Dark Mark now has a 4.9 second lead over the Mad Mark, and a big slide at the back there from Davies on the intermediates as he is working his way through. Meanwhile, Big Perry is ahead of Atkins now. What's happened to Atkins? It looks like he's had a moment somewhere there. Yeah, agree, Mr. Stroud. I'm not usually left speechless, but it's been an interesting first 6.5 laps, let's put it that way. I mean, the fact they can't practice TT in the wet is one thing, but they can practice wet in, for example, Grand Prix mode. And although it can get a bit slippy and dicey, I think, just being a bit patient sometimes. I mean, 3 wide on a wet track on the exit of a hairpin, is that the smartest thing in the world? Probably not. And it looked like it just caused a domino effect, and absolute chaos ensued as Mad Mark now comes into the pits and Davies now takes the lead of this race. Does have Scott on his rear end, but he leads this race. He's on the intermediate tyre. Where is Dark Mark going to come out? He's battling obviously with Big Perry. I think Big Perry's going to clear him quite easily here actually. It's going to be a case of whether he clears Ewan or not. I think, is Ewan going to be able to get Dark Mark? It's going to be close, and yes, Ewan does get ahead of the Dark Mark. Scott still out there on the wet tyres. Probably hoping for a safety car. Revokes picks up a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, like I said, every time I've commentated on a Monday night race, the racing has been absolutely brilliant. Like, great side-by-side battling, and I've commended these drivers every time I've commentated on them, and it's been brilliant races, so we don't want to take anything away from that. It just has been... Oh! And as we say that, Scott is round! Round goes Scott, just touches the curb, and that's going to cost him. He's going to have Big Perry catching him now. But Davies has pulled an absolute Einstein strategy off here. He has a huge lead. He's on the intermediate tyres on a drying track. And if it stays these conditions for the rest of the race, I mean, Big Perry did seem to have did have the edge on the intermediate conditions in qualifying, but has he got 12 seconds worth of an edge? That is the question. Let's go back and have a look at where's the fights as Davies sets the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, Baker Gaming is closing up to the back of the Ferrari of Whitey. Whitey, the sole remaining Ferrari after A72's big crash. Big Perry then sets the fastest lap of the race. And is 12.5 seconds now behind Davies. And the hunt is on for Big Perry. Scott tried to hang it out there, but there was just no grip for him, and he has dropped down the order, unfortunately. Betcher's also trying to hang it out. He is dropping down. Raratron has managed to recover back up to P8 now on those intermediate tyres. So good recovery from Raratron, back up into the top 10. Agatha Wispy, it has been passed there, so she's down to 15th place. Betches then drops to the back of the field as Revoke sets the new fastest lap of the race. We'll go on board with Revokes now, actually, as he's on the back of Atkins. Mad Mark. What's happened to Mad Mark there? So he's just been passed by Raratron, I think. We're here with Revokes, though. He is looking very racy on the rear end of Atkins. This is the battle for P13 at the moment. A few of these drivers probably hoping for a safety car soon, try and get themselves back up into contention. A few close passes on the track. Big Perry has taken 1.4 seconds, 1.5 seconds out of Davies on this lap alone. His tyres are 4 laps younger than Davies. And as we've seen from someone in the stream before, tyre wear seems to be a bit of an issue here. And it looks like Revokes is going to try and move on the outside of the chicane and gets it all out of shape under braking there and manages to keep it in a straight line. Great racing, great car control there from Revokes. These two showing how it's done, how you race side by side. Great battling here. We'll stay on board with these two as they come down the start-finish line. Revokes almost pushing Atkins through the final 2 corners there. Wilco is flying. He started at the back. Oh, he really is. P5 in the Red Bull. Some good. Red Bull need the points as well. So some good points there. And Revokes then up the inside as they head into 2. And Atkins going to try and hang it out. Force a little bit wide. Goes over the yellow sausage curbs. And possibly tried to hang on that one maybe a little bit longer than he could have done. And ends up losing out to Revokes. Meanwhile, we move further up. Dartmark is on the rear end of Ewan here in the battle for P3. Of course, Dartmark pitted a lap after Ewan and Big Perry. Ewan picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th drivers, all with penalties now. Looking at the penalty situation. So Gaming Minion and Big Perry both have 5-second penalties. Ewan has a 5-second penalty as well. So they will be able to drop those at the next pit window. Big Perry is 6.4 seconds. He's taken a huge chunk out of Davies there. He's got a huge ton of pace. Has Davies had an issue somewhere? He's taken about 5 seconds, 4 seconds out of Davies in a lap there. So I wonder if Davies has had a moment somewhere. And Cameron there looking like he's just made a move on Gaming Minion. Haas driver getting a little bit out of shape there after making the move. That'll give Wilco Stewart a little bit of a chance to come back, but you tend not to see overtakes into that chicane. See there Raratron just lurking in the background. It's been a good recovery from Raratron. Like I said, he after an incident on the first lap, he was down at the back with Revokes, and he's managed to claw his way back up to P7 now. TSC Apex with a 3-second time penalty. He's running down in P12 at the moment. Go back aboard with the dark mark then as he looks for a move then at the chicane, but not quite close enough this time on Ewan. These two dropping further and further back from Big Perry. Big Perry taking another second out of Davies on this lap run. Lap 11 here in Imola, and the gap between the top two is coming down faster and faster. 3-second time penalty for Cameron this time. Looks like Raratron is caught up to the rear end of Gaming Minion as well. We'll see if Dartmark is close enough to make a move here. He's closing, but I don't think he's going to be able to close quite enough. Well, in the meantime, here comes Raratron looking for a move on Gaming Minion. ERS activated both drivers here, and he's not going to be close enough. Looks like the straight line speed of Wilco Stewart a little bit stronger than that of Raratron. So he's going to have to do it in probably a less orthodox position, and he's going to try and do a switchback. This is almost a karting manoeuvre here. This is going to be a great move from Raratron if he pulls this off. He has done. He got him out of position, forced him to run a little bit wide, switched back twice to the first few corners, and yeah, great move from Raratron to get himself back up to P6 now, as Darkmark now all over the back of Ewan again, and Scott has made the move on Madmark now. Up into P8 then, as Madmark drops down to P9, and there's contact there. Darkmark has hit the back of Ewan, and he's slowed down there. That is a shame. And yeah, Darkmark is just slowing down there, I think. Oh, he did slow down, see if he could let him go, but now the other cars have come past him. There's no way for him to give that position back. Yeah, he looks like he tried to then, but yeah, nothing doing there, unfortunately. He couldn't. Once there's cars in between you can't give the place back. And again, I'm sure that will be another one for the stewards. Does Davis have a front wing? Let's have a look. Yes, Davies has a front wing. So yes, there is a front wing still attached to the Aston Martin, but Big Perry is absolutely flying. Obviously, we know Darkmark has lost a lot of time there from the contact with Ewan, and then obviously slowing down to try and let him past, but wasn't able to actually let him go there. So the thought was there. The thought to be sportsmanlike was there, but yeah, it just wasn't possible. As Revokes now sets the fastest lap of the race. He's obviously cleared Atkins and is on his way. He's on the back of Apex now, and he's looking for the move and gets the move. And Revokes there, moves up into P12 now, ahead of TSD Apex. Meanwhile, Raratron is on P5. He's absolutely flying, Raratron, in the wet. There's a potential podium shout here for Raratron, the way he's going. Obviously, Ewan will be wanting to try and come back at them. Meanwhile, Big Perry up at the front is just 1.6 seconds behind Davies now. So, can the Alfa Romeo? Not even Big Perry knows how he's going that quick. Yeah, he's absolutely flying. Looks like he's a wet weather specialist, is Mr. Perry, from what I've seen so far. Quite a few battles all over the track here. Like I said, it was the first 7 laps, very scrappy indeed, very tricky conditions, plenty of incidents, and the stewards are going to be very busy. Oh, and Raratron runs off onto the gravel. That might let Ewan have a go, and a 3-second time penalty for the other Alfa Romeo. Yeah, and Ewan's not going to be close enough this time around. Meanwhile, Gaming Minion and Scott go side by side. And it looks like Scott is going to come out on top in that battle. Madmark just watching on in case these two come together. Revokes also gets the move done on Whitey, so he moves up to P10. Showing some great pace there, Revokes. But meanwhile, let's go back up to the front, because Big Perry is now within a second of Davies. That has been an astonishing turnaround. He was about 13 or 14 seconds behind after the pit stops, and look how much speed he carries through the chicane compared to Davies. He's so much more confident in these conditions, and Davies is going to have an AlphaTauri all over the back of him around these final 2 corners. So let's stay on board there. Bit of a wiggle there from Davies. That'll give a lovely little taste of attack there for Big Perry. Gets into the slipstream. Is he going to be close enough for a move here? Not close enough to head into the first couple of corners. Madmark, meanwhile, is looking like he is about to make a move on Gaming Minion for the back, but we don't want to miss this battle for the lead, as Madmark does get the move done on Wilco Stewart into P8. And oh, it goes for a little move there. He just shows his nose there. Thought he was going to go for a move up the inside, but Davies says there's no room at the in there and stays in P1 for now, but it feels like it's only a matter of time before Big Perry gets his man. Meanwhile, if you look further back, Baker Gaming is making a move on Whitey round the outside of turn 1. Just gets it done before the apex. And yeah, Whitey moving backwards, unfortunately, for Ferrari. I said decent qualifying for them both, getting them into the top 10. but with A72 out of the race and White moving down, it's not quite gone to plan as Apex picks up another 3-second time penalty. Meanwhile, Rara still on the back of Cameron. Can he make a move here? Oh, he runs a little bit wide, the Haas driver. That might allow Raratron to think to move up into the chicane, but he's not quite close enough. Yeah, again, not close enough for a move here. But Big Perry looking for... Oh, there's a bit of contact. That could have ended in absolute tears there. We went on board just at the right time. And you know what this game's like. If the wheels get connected, it can end in tears. And there's been an incident further back somewhere. It's Revokes. Revokes is in the barrier. He's shown some great pace, but he's had a fair few incidents tonight. Has Revokes. And that is unfortunate for him because he just feel like he would have been near the front. But yeah, that could have been disaster at the front. As Raratron tries to do another switch back here. Is he going to get it done? Oh, just gets a bit of a slopper on. Meaning he can't quite get the power down there to make the move on the Haas driver. Oh, we had a little look there as Rokes gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And that is a retirement in the pits. Not enjoying the weather there is the American. Meanwhile, Raratron gets the move done. Raratron gets the move done on Cameron. He's not afraid of a move, is Raratron. We've seen a couple of cracking moves this season from the Alfa Romeo driver, and he moves himself up into P4. Meanwhile, Apex has just got the move done on Atkins, so he moves himself up into P10. Both Red Bulls now into the top 10, while we move back to the battle for the lead. Here comes the... Oh, there's contact again. Aston Martin just needs to be a little bit careful. Oh, this could end in tears. Yeah, I'm not quite sure the gap was there for Big Perry on that one. Looks like a bit of frustration creeping in here. Yeah, again, another possible one for this year's to look at. Whether, yeah, zero comment. But they're both carried on. They both still got a massive lead over the other two, so... No harm done. Meanwhile, Ewan has got the move done on Cameron there, so Ewan staying ahead, or getting ahead of Cameron, should I say. So P6 now for the Haas driver. Yes, Footsy, I think you are going to be in for a very late night. Meanwhile, Whitey is... Oh, I just got the end of that, and there's another incident, this time between the Ferrari and the Mercedes. And it's the Mercedes that has come off worse on that one. Everywhere I look, there seems to be an incident. Or as Max Verstappen would say, an incident. Or was it Charles Leclerc that said that? One of them said an incident. Scott, meanwhile, on the rear end of the Haas driver, gets a little bit deep, so loses that advantage he was hoping to get. But we're back to the battle for the lead. Now, the last 2 laps, these two have almost come together on the George Russell Valtteri Bottas kink. Which way will the Aston Martin defend? He defends to the inside, so the Alfa Tauri will go to the outside. And this time the Aston Martin positions his car beautifully so that Big Perry can't get the move done. This could be a race-long battle here. Big Perry has the pace advantage, but it is hard to overtake in the wet here. Just stay on board with... Oh, just feel the car sliding. And he loses that momentum and gives Davies a little bit of respite for a couple of corners. A bit further back down to Scott now while we wait for Davies and Big Perry to resume their boxing match. Scott, meanwhile, looking for a move on Cameron. Cameron still holding that P6 position. Let's look at positions gained so far. Positions changed at the moment. So Davies up 1 and Big Perry down 1. And there we have the move. Scott looking for a move as the Haas gets a little bit of a swapper on. But again, just backs out. It's probably the smart thing to do. Going for a dive at the inside there. You need to be fully alongside or maybe even further as you head into Aqua Minerale. A lovely helicopter shot here. Can the Alpine make a move into the chicane? Not quite close enough on this occasion. I'll keep my eye on the battle for the lead as it is coming down 0.3 of a second. It is coming down quite quickly, actually. Here he goes. The AlphaTauri makes move to the inside. The Aston Martin's going to hold it to the outside and holds onto P1. And he's going to go for the switchback here. Is Big Perry not quite close enough on this occasion? And the Aston Martin should hang on to this one. And yes, he does. Great fighting from these two. Made friends after their nearly moment, should we say. And oh, the AlphaTauri goes to move to the inside. Oh, the door opened a smidge then. The AlphaTauri stuck his nose in, but then Davies slams that door shut again and hangs on for another lap. Meanwhile, Scott is still trying to make that move on Cameron. Raratron, meanwhile, slowly edging towards the dark mark. It's 10.5 seconds the gap now. Can he bring that gap down any closer before the end of the race? I guess the one thing for Davies to worry about is his laps are older, and tyre wear isn't amazing on this. Will they have to pit again? That is the question to ask. This battle for P4, though, really hotting up. You've got Raratron, Ewan, Cameron, and Scott. 4 drivers, nose to tail here, in tricky conditions. 3-second time penalty for Egg the Wispy, still carrying on P14. Great to see her carrying on and not giving up. Let's have a quick look at the battle further down as we have Baker Gaming and White, the two the Mercedes and the Ferrari driver, renewing their battle. Cameron, meanwhile, has lost out there. He's just dropped back from Ewan a little bit there, actually. Stay on board with this battle for a moment. Into the chicane they go. Can the Mercedes make a move and get himself into P12 as Mad Mark picks up a 3-second time penalty now. Penalties galore here in Imola, it always is. As Scott has got the move done on Cameron now. Cameron down to P7. Looks like they may have found them coming together there, actually. Yep, I think Scott has definitely come off worse out of those two. Oh, and Big Perry has picked up a time penalty there. So Big Perry needs to get the move done and then start pulling ahead. He has the pace to pull ahead, but he doesn't look like he's got the straight line speed to actually get the move done. So he's going to have to do it in a different place on the track and catch Davies out. But Davies is a wily old fox. And you've got to think long and hard if you're going to catch Davies out. But yeah, definitely something coming together there between Scott and Cameron. I missed that on track, but saw it on the map while we were watching the Mercedes and the Ferrari. Typical, I miss it when I go away from the battle of those four. But gaps are starting to appear. It's Big Perry looking for the move now. It's the closest he's been. He has the inside line this time, and I think he's going to get this move done as they head towards turn 1. And yes, that is P1 now for Big Perry. So Davies, his aim now is to stay within the time penalty of Big Perry. Let's see what that penalty currently is. So the penalty is 8 seconds. So unless they pit again, Big Perry needs to get an 8-second lead over Davies, which, considering the pace advantage he had earlier and the fact that Big Perry has fresher tyres, is not completely out of the question. So Davies is going to have to drive as smooth and as quickly as possible without damaging his tyres to try and stay within the 8-second gap. It's already at 1.1 seconds. Get back to position changes. There we go. So Cameron's still in 8th position, so he's gained the most positions of anyone so far in this race. Betches has lost the most. He's down 9 places. So great drive from Cameron so far from near the back of the field. Raratron doesn't really tell a story of his race because he was at the back at one point after lap 1. But he's managed to get himself back up to P4. And that slight inroads he was making to Dark Mark has been halted now. And it's back up to 11 seconds between 3rd and 4th place. Although Dark Mark is carrying a penalty. So a safety car here would really benefit Raratron, that's for sure. He got 2 warnings in one corner. Oh, was that Big Perry that got 2 warnings? Okay. With anything like that, just make sure you tell him to get a either screenshots or video up his. Oh, sorry. Yawn. Either a screenshot or a video of his race director, and then obviously a copy of the incident that gave him the penalties. And then, of course, the stewards will have a look at it. But Davey's doing a good job to stay within a second there, so he's not allowing Big Perry to get away. Mad Mark coming into it. So a few drivers pitting here for dry tyres. Has the rain stopped? Let's go on board with the leaders. It has. The rain has stopped. It's still a damp track. Whitey picks up a 5-second time penalty. This could change again. So a few drivers pitting. Cameron has pitted for medium tyres. Let's look at this gap now between the leader. So Cameron 53 seconds back from the leader. DRS enabled. There is 11 laps to go. Are the leaders going to pit? Fast lap at the moment does belong to Revokes, but that will go now that people are on dry tyres. Yeah, the leaders are in the pits. Dark Mark, I imagine, will come into the pits now as well. Yes, he does. They're all going to have to retaliate to Cameron, who has pitted and got onto the medium tyres and was already taking chunks of time out of them. He is quite a way back, to be fair. And Davies comes out of the pits. Big Perry serves his 5-second time penalty. And is going to have to go on the attack once more. Dark Mark is coming out of the pits. Let's see what tyres they've all gone on to. So there we have it. So Ewan is... So someone going to... Ramatron has gone into soft tyres. Again, Minion on Inters. He's going to come into the pits. That'll allow Cameron to come through. So Cameron then... Can he get some of these guys? He's set the 5-second time penalty for Gaming Minion there. Is he going to be able to get Raratron here? It's going to be close. No, not quite, but his tyres are going to be up to speed. So Raratron needs to get his tyres up to speed as quickly as possible. He's on the soft tyres, so he doesn't want to lose that position. Just heard the track announcer talking about Michael Schumacher there, the GOAT. Meanwhile, Cameron's still on the back of Rara while Rara gets those tyres up to temperature. Big Perry 3.7 behind Davies now with the Dark Mark currently running in P3. Rara has Cameron all over the back of him here in the dry conditions. And oh, there's a touch there from behind. Just carried a bit too much speed there into the second part of Aqua Minerale and just tagged the back of Raratron. And Raratron picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's going to allow Cameron now to go on the attack and not worry about having to get that 3-second down the road. Is he going to look for a move up the inside? He goes wide. Oh, he's on the grass. He's on the grass. He's not going to stop, surely. No, he's not going to stop that. He stuck to the grass there, and yeah, he was never going to get that stop in time. Look at the penalties. Yep, they all have 3 seconds from second to fifth. Ewan has a 6-second time penalty, and Cameron sets the fastest lap of the race, but he was on the grass for a bit of it, so you feel that will get done. And that is Raratron letting Cameron go there, so I wonder if Rara feels like he squeezed Cameron onto the grass there. And that's good sportsmanship there, great sportsmanship. I like to see things like that, as Atkins sends the fastest lap of the race. Rara, of course, has those fresh soft tyres, so now they're at temperature. He will look to come back at Cameron. Runs a little bit wide there on the exit of the hairpin, but it's got a good exit there, and oh, Cameron's let him back past. These two must be good friends, so maybe Cameron's saying, look, you didn't have to let me past, it was my own fault. Who knows, but they're letting each other go. They're taking it in turns. It's almost like a cycle race at the Tour de France. You lead for a bit, then I'll lead for a bit. And no, they come very close again there. They're going to go, oh, they almost touch. Side by side into the chicane. Who's going to go in front? And it's the Haas driver who retakes P4. What a battle this is. I'm enjoying this. And I've just seen a new fastest lap flash up there. Who got that one? So it is Dark Mark who sets the new fastest lap of the race. He's 4.9 seconds behind Big Perry at the moment. While these two fight, you've got the likes of Scott and Ewan not too far behind. Raratron now coming back at Cameron. He'll go to the outside and get that move done way before the braking zone. And Raratron moves back up into P4. Meanwhile, Ewan looking for a move on Scott, but not quite close enough on that occasion. Further back, Apex has the DRS on Atkins here, 6/10 behind. Is he going to be close enough for a move into turn? I don't think he will be. And no, he's not. Let's have a look back at Wilco Stewart then, who is looking to see if he can make a move on Baker Gaming. The Red Bull man taking the Mercedes with ease way before the braking zone. Much more straight line speed and he moves himself up into the top 12 on those soft tyres. Agatha Wispy picks up another 3-second time penalty. Betches has gone onto the hard tyres, Agatha Wispy on the soft tyres, so we'll see if she can catch up to the Williams and get herself into P14. Big Perry, since they've gone onto the dry tyres, not quite able to make the inroads he was making, as the Mercedes there of Baker Gaming goes right round the outside there of the Red Bull. Moves himself back up into P12. Great little scrap here between the Mercedes and the Red Bull. Meanwhile, a bit further up, we have Ewan looking for a move on Scott. Is he going to be close enough? He's completely out of ERS though, and Scott still has 47% left. He's going to look for a move into turn 1, pulls out the inside and gets the move done. Nice move with Maze, but he's run wide and back round the outside goes the Alpine of Scott. Ewan ran wide, ran deep into the chicane, and the Alpine man gets P6 back on the track. He wants to try and stay within that 3 seconds of Cameron, because that'll get him back into the top 5. And potentially even into 4, because Raratron is only just up the road as well, and he is carrying a penalty. So he's going to be hoping that Ewan doesn't fight him too long here, because it'll obviously cost him time the more these two scrap. Big Perry is bringing that gap down at the front as Cameron picks up another 3-second time penalty. We have a yellow flag somewhere. That is Baker Gaming and Gaming Minion, who looks like they may have had a bit of a coming together there. Agatha Wispy, 4.2 seconds back from Betches, not quite able to make the inroads that she'll have been hoping to on those soft tyres. Meanwhile, Ewan still looking to try and make a pass on Scott here, while Scott closes in on the back of Cameron, who also closes on the back of Raratron, as these look to renew festivities here in Imola. Raratron forces Cameron to go the long way around, but he gets that move done long before the braking zone. DRS very powerful here around Imola, but he is out of ERS now, and Rara has 44% left. Look further back to Scott now. Gaming Minion picks up another 3-second time penalty while he is having his battle with Baker Gaming in the fight for P12. Two battles on the track at the moment. You've got Ewan and Scott, the Mercedes versus the Alpine. And then you've also got Cameron versus Raratron in the battle for P4. It will be 4 laps to go in this race when Davies crosses the line the next time around, and Scott gets all out of shape as Agatha Wispy picks up another time penalty there, and Betches has pit for fresh soft tyres, which allows Agatha Wispy to take P14. If you look at the penalties though, Agatha Wispy has 12 seconds, Betches has 9 seconds. Oh, here comes Scott. Is Scott going to make a move up the inside? And Scott not quite close enough for the move. Scott stays behind Ewan for now. Ewan picks up a 3-second time penalty this time, so Scott, if you can say penalty free, could be moving up a couple of places here, but needs to try and get back past Ewan because these two have dropped out of the 3-second window of Raratron. Cracking little scrap though between these two, Ewan and Scott. These two have had plenty of battles with each other, so they know how to race each other fairly. Ewan just letting him know he's there, having a little nosy as they come through the chicane. And oh, and the Mercedes out of shape, and through goes the Alpine. However, that might be a disadvantage, because Ewan is now going to get DRS on Scott, which will frustrate the hell out of Scott, because Scott wants to try and catch back up to the rear end of Raratron. Not the best exit from Ewan though. Is he going to be close enough to make a move? He is closing quite quickly here. Oh, a little bit of a shake there and a move from Scott. Ewan can't quite make the move done there, and Scott holds on to P6 and now he can go hunting after Raratron. Atkins meanwhile making the move there on TSD Apex with the assist of DRS, has got the move even before the Bottas George Russell kink. So only 2 drivers so far in this race without a penalty, and that is Scott, currently in P6, and Davies leading the race with his, I mean, you have to say, his Einstein call, which got him well into the lead of the race and into contention. We have a yellow flag somewhere. It's Ewan. Ewan's out! Ewan is out of this race. So what has happened to Ewan? There he is. Oh dear, no safety car though. No safety car. That would have spiced things up, wouldn't it? A late safety car. I think it might be too late for safety car actually, but Ewan out of the race with 3 laps to go. Such a shame for Mercedes. They could have done with those points. But Ewan is out of the race. That promotes Whitey in the Ferrari back into the top 10. Have a look. Raratron then is a second behind Cameron. Looks like those soft tyres may have seen better days now, which is allowing Scott to close back up. So Scott could be on for... Oh, did I say that? Oh, Scott was on for such a good result with the lack of penalties. Round he goes, and he is going to drop down now as Mad Mark goes through into P6. Scott drops down to P7. Has he got any wing damage? I think he's got front left end plate damage there. Becky Aim picks a penalty. And yes, he has. It's wing damage for Scott. Heartbreak for the Alpine man. They were looking for an absolute stunning result in the constructors here. But Scott has dropped it with a couple of laps to go. And maybe concentration. It's been a long old race, this one. Red flags are on as well. Oh, that would have been cool to see a red flag. There is a... Oh, Apex is back on the rear end of Atkins here. He's caught back up. Who's close on the field? It's just Apex and Atkins, who will go on board with the leader soon when he starts the final lap. Big Perry is slowly reeling in Davies, and we have a yellow flag somewhere. It's Big Perry! Big Perry is round! He's lost P2, and that promotes Dark Mark to P2. Big Perry has dropped it, and Dark Mark has inherited second place. Heartbreak on his debut, but he still should come away with a podium here. Well, his permanent seat debut, should we say. And oh, such a shame for Big Perry. He had the pace, especially in the wet. I would say on paper he's had the fastest car today, but it's not quite worked out for him, and he drops to P3. Few mistakes creeping in here at the end of the race. And a little slide as he gets onto the loud pedal. Angrily at the end. Knows he's made a mistake there. Meanwhile, Atkins is looking to see if he can make a move on Scott at the end here. Looks like he's not quite close enough. 3 cars there. Very close to each other. As Gaming Minion is going to pit again for fresh soft tyres. But he's not going to have a chance to set a fastest lap. Scott opting to stay out instead of pitting for a new wing. Should be pretty straightforward this for Atkins. And yeah, gets the move done. And you feel that Apex will follow through pretty soon after with the lack of, with the understeer that Scott is going to have through this section of the track. And yeah, switch back through here and, oh, pretty good purchase actually there. Meanwhile, let's go on board with Davies, because Davies is going to win here in Imola. An Einstein call, no penalties, and my personal driver of the day. It's been a stunning, faultless drive from the Aston Martin man. Dark Mark comes through in second place with another consistent race to finish in second place. Meanwhile, Apex is looking for a move on Scott. He doesn't need to make the move here. It's going to be, should be pretty straightforward. No, Scott managed to hang on. Some good driving here despite him missing half of the front wing. Scott will be a few drives will be kicking themselves towards the end. Big Perry has crossed the line in P3. And Scott does run wide on the exit there, and that is going to allow Apex to go through, but Scott will get that back on penalty countback. Where will Scott finish? Of course, he has no penalties and finishes P8 in the end. Huge crash on the finish line there as Rariton holds on to a top 5 finish. Well, first 7 or 8 laps, absolute carnage, and some drivers will probably need to have a little look at themselves and think, you know what, even if it's a wet race, patience is a virtue. It's a long old drive. But to be honest, it turned out to be an excellent race in the end. Yeah, got caught up in everything in the rain. Yeah, a few drivers got caught up with quite a few things. Rautron gets the game drive though. To be fair, it was a close call for me between Davies and Rara, because Rara pulled off a couple of brilliant overtakes and they made a great recovery to come back from the back. And it's quite rare that you give the winner of the race driver of the day. But considering he's had no penalties, the absolute Einstein strategy call he made to go into those inters under the safety car when it was still wet conditions, and it changed into intermediates at the best point for him. And yes, I mean, Big Perry had the pace and he definitely reeled Davies in. But once he got to Davies, Davies put up an incredible fight, brilliant defence to hold him off. And then, of course, he stayed penalty free, which allowed him to then get the gap again at the once they pitted for fresh dry tyres. So I'm going to stick with Davies as my driver of the day. And look at the rain. The rain is back just in time. Let's invite the top 3 to a little party. Bring your own drinks. So we'll have a quick rundown then. So Davies gets the victory in the Aston Martin and my driver of the day. Dark Mark then, consistent as always, gets through to P2 in the end after Big Perry's mistake with a couple of laps to go. He rounds out the podium. Cameron, brilliant drive from P14. Almost a top 3. Mr. Stroud very close to getting his prediction right for Cameron. And then Raratron rounding out the top 5. Mad Mark finishes P6, gaining that place with a couple laps to go after Scott's mistake. Atkins P7 ahead of Scott, and then Apex in P9, with Whitey rounding out the top 10. Baker Gaming, Betchers, Egg the Wispy, and Gaming Minion rounding out the finishers. But we've got our top 3 then in the party. We have Big Perry, Davies, and Dark Mark. We'll start off with the third place man who, at one point, with the pace he had in the wets, looked odds on for a victory. But it wasn't quite meant to be. Tell us about your race, Mr. Platypus.
I thought it was a fun race. I enjoyed the wet a lot. I felt like I had really good pace. It was really annoying the strat that Davies did, because I tried baiting him to go into the pits. Cause I was thinking about pitting that lap. I kind of wish I did, but then caught him rapidly. I do have some comments that I'm not saying, but racing's racing, innit? And then I just made a mistake. Second to last lap, pushing too hard, trying to catch him.
Yeah, it was one of those races where certainly the first 7 laps were, I think Woodsy and the other stewards are going to be fairly busy from the first 7 laps.
When that first safety car came out, I was fuming because me and Davies had gaps. I think it was Betches in third by about 8 seconds.
Yeah, you two had gone. You'd gone off into your own race. You'd driven away from Imola and you were on to wherever we're racing next. It was quite the start from you two. But yeah, brilliant drive. Obviously, you got the pole. Not quite the victory, but still a great drive on your full-time debut. I don't know where we are next week. Marcus, where are we next week?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. What are your thoughts on Abu Dhabi, Mr. Perry?
I've not really raced it that much, to be honest. I don't actually think I've raced a new layout. That's how much practice I need. But you know, we push.
Yeah, well, brilliant drive. Congratulations. Hopefully the luck of the gods is more on your favour next week. Moving on to P2, Mr. Consistent. I know from my own personal experience, you cannot keep this guy away, no matter what you do. He's come through again and finished P2. More points for the championship. How was that race for you?
Yeah, that was tough. Turn 1, I got caught up sort of trying to avoid the accident at turn 1. And then Betcher's once I got past him, he's outbraked himself going into the chicane, I think. And he's given me. Well, I looked on my race director. I had 4 warnings and a 3-second penalty for that, for him basically pushing me and making me straight line the chicane. So
I did see you get that. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully I can get that removed, but it would only mean an extra point, I suppose. But apart from that, I had one issue. I had one incident with Ewan, which I'm not sure. Yeah, I did clip it. Complete accident if he thinks it was my fault, but I did stop on track, hoping that he'd sort of
Yeah,
be able to
I saw that.
hoping he'd be able to right himself and sort of get back in front of me. And I ended up losing 10 seconds to Perry and Davies for doing that. And then I managed to claw back the 10 seconds just before it started drying up. And yeah, couldn't really make any more time up after that. But yeah, happy with P2. Obviously, big Perry unfortunately spinning as a penultimate lap. But P2, yeah, as I say, helps me out with my hunt for the Drivers' Championship.
Definitely, yeah. I did see you try and be sportsmanlike, but I guess when cars come in between you, it's
That's it.
you can't exactly let everyone go past.
Yeah,
so
I've effectively given myself a 10-second stop-go penalty there for doing that.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. So hopefully he looks at that and goes, you know what, he tried.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, cracking drive. What are your thoughts on Abu Dhabi?
I don't mind it. I like the new layout. Everything they've done to that track, I think, has improved it. You know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's not a bad little track to race on.
Well, brilliant drive, consistent as always. I don't know what's happening with Bacon Soda, whether he comes back and carries on his championship battle or whether he disappears from oblivion. But either way, you've certainly gained plenty of points on him in the championship fight.
Cheers, mate.
Moving on to our race winner and my driver of the day, a brilliant drive. I called it an Einstein strategy call from the comms box. Defended stoutly, stayed penalty free, did what you needed to do. Probably you can admit that Big Perry probably had the pace on you, but you stayed consistent and stayed penalty free. How was that race for you, Mr. Davies?
Yeah, I don't really understand why anyone else didn't try going onto the inters off the safety car. I felt for sure everyone was going to do it.
I joked about it, didn't I?
Well, yeah, I knew I'd have the grip, and I knew I'd have the pace. It was just about trying to stay out of trouble. There was an incident. What corner was it? I think it was Piratella, where I clipped the car because there was like a 3-car pile up, and I damaged my front wing, so I had to deal with that for the entire race. But yeah, me and Perry had a good little ding dong. I think it was hard, maybe at times on the line, but I think we give as good as we got.
Yeah, GG for it, but there was a few incidents, but I'm not going to talk about it. Just GG, fucking incredible pace.
Yeah.
I was wondering why that gap came down so quickly, so that makes sense that you've had wing damage, because that gap came down very quickly.
Yeah, I had front wing damage from just
Right.
got caught up in an incident between the midfield, and it's one of them. You come into the corner, and yeah, there was 3 cars on track.
Yeah, well, brilliant drive. Like I said in the comms box, you've got my drive of the day to stay
Thank you very
in
much.
that kind of a race, to stay penalty free and incident free was brilliant. There was one moment where I imagine both yours and Perry's hearts were in your mouths when your wheels almost connected at what I call the Bottas Russell kink.
There was a few slight bump
chicane.
cheeks.
And I was like, oh. So yeah, well done for both of you for keeping it out of the wall. Brilliant. It was entertaining for me. What are your thoughts on Abu Dhabi, Mr. Davies?
I think what Dartmouth says, the track improvements have helped. I'm not a massive fan of the track, but yeah, I think it's better than what it was.
Yeah, well, cracking drive from all three of you. Brilliant racing. Like I said, an interesting first quarter of the race, which I'm sure the stewards are going to be pretty busy. But it ended up being a cracking race with some great overtakes. Rarishon with overtake of the day with what was effectively a double switchback in the first sector. I'll be back next Monday with Abu Dhabi, but of course, before then, you've got the Gunners on Wednesday for the Wednesday division, and then the Insanos taking on 100% distance in the realistic cars. So thank you for tuning in. We'll be back again on Wednesday with Gunners, and see you later.